All right, let's jump right in. We're about to explore a part of the Bible you might know as the minor prophets, but what if I told you they weren't minor at all, and that they aren't just a random pile of books? What if they were actually designed to be read as one single, sweeping, epic story?
So that's the big puzzle we're going to try to solve. Are the last 12 books of the Old Testament just 12 separate messages? Or did some ancient, brilliant editor weave them all together into a single, unified masterpiece with its own plot?
You know, it's pretty wild how a simple name can change how we see things. The name we usually use, minor prophets, actually comes from the church father Augustine. And all he meant by minor was that these books are shorter than, say, Isaiah or Jeremiah. It definitely does not mean they're less important. But the original Hebrew name was just the Book of the 12, which right away kind of tells you they were seen as one big, cohesive thing.
And get this isn't some new, modern theory. This idea that they're a single unit is ancient. We have texts like the Book of Sirach from way back in 200 BC talking about the 12 prophets as a single group with a single job. They were already being read as a collective. So, what's the evidence for this intentional design? Let's take a look.
Okay, so our first major clue is the order of the books itself. It's not random at all. In fact, there's a brilliant and totally deliberate structure holding this whole collection together.
First, just think about the sheer scope of this thing. This isn't just a snapshot in time. The Book of the 12 covers a massive 400-year chunk of Israel's history. It walks you through three of the biggest, most world-shaking crises they ever faced: the rise of the Assyrian Empire, the devastating invasion of Babylon, and then the long-awaited return from exile under the Persians.
And the way the editors put all this history together is just incredibly smart. They didn't just line everything up by date. No, they used this sophisticated mix of chronological order and really powerful thematic connections. It's like they were weaving a literary tapestry.
And here's the key. So 6 of the books, Hosea, Amos, Micah, Zephaniah, Haggai, and Zechariah, they're all put in a pretty clear historical order. But the other 6? They're strategically placed for thematic reasons, to create these powerful links and contrasts that you would totally miss if you just read them by themselves. But the clues? Well, they go even deeper than that.
All right, so the next layer of evidence is just so cool. It's found in the literary techniques that were used to, quite literally, stitch the individual scrolls together into one continuous story. One of the main ways they did this is with something called catchwords. Think of it like a literary baton pass. An editor would take a keyword or an image from the final lines of one prophet's book and then deliberately use it to kick off the very next one. It's a way to link them together in your mind.
Okay, here's a perfect example. The book of Hosea. It ends with this beautiful promise of future hope and restoration. It uses these images of flourishing grain, blossoming vines, and famous wine. It's a picture of total blessing. So remember those 3 words, grain, vine, and wine. Because check this out. The very next book, Joel, opens with the exact same 3 images, grain, wine, and vine, but now they're symbols of total devastation and judgment. It's an absolutely brilliant move. It creates this immediate tension of promise versus reality and forces you to read the 2 books as part of the same conversation.
But as clever as those catchwords are, there's an even deeper connection. There's a single theological idea, a golden thread, if you will, that runs through the entire collection, and it really acts as its spiritual and literary backbone.
And that thread is this foundational statement about God's character from way back in the book of Exodus. And it presents these 2 sides of the same coin. God is incredibly merciful, compassionate, and loving. But he is also just, and he won't simply look the other way at wrongdoing. This 2-sided reality is the key to understanding the entire book of the 12.
And just look how this one single verse is wrestled with all the way through these books. Joel, he quotes God's mercy as the very reason people should turn back to him. Then Jonah comes along and is furious because God shows that exact same mercy to Israel's worst enemies. Later, Micah clings to this compassion as the only hope for forgiveness. And then Nahum picks up the other half of the verse, reminding everyone that this merciful God is also a just God who will by no means clear the guilty. This is a 400-year-long theological conversation happening right on the page.
So if the evidence for unity is this strong, we have the intentional order, the literary stitching, the shared theology, then what is this single epic story actually about?
Well, when you read it as one book, a very clear plot starts to emerge. It's a 400-year drama that revolves around one crucial question. When God speaks through his prophets, how will the people respond? Will they listen or will they turn away? The entire drama, the whole thing, can actually be captured in a single Hebrew word, shuv. It means to return or to repent. This is the call. It's the challenge. It's the question that the prophets are asking Israel, generation after generation.
And the whole epic kicks off with this exact call. The very first book, Hosea, is passionately pleading with the people to return, to shub, to God. This sets the stage for everything that follows. But here's the tragic twist. Almost immediately, the central conflict of the story is introduced. Because Hosea also says the people can't return. Their actions, their hearts, are so bent on turning away from God that they seem completely unable to answer the call. And this tension, this desperate call to return versus the tragic inability to return, is the engine that drives the plot for the next 11 books.
So what's the big takeaway here? Why does seeing these 12 books as one single unified story actually matter so much?
Well, it really changes everything. It shows us that the Book of the 12 isn't some random jumble of prophecies. It's a masterfully edited epic with a clear beginning, a middle, and, well, a lingering question at the end. It tells one coherent story about the consistent character of God and the tragic failure of people to listen to him over centuries. It transforms from a confusing collection into a powerful, focused narrative.
And in the end, by showing us centuries of failed responses, this ancient book turns its 2,500-year-old question directly to you, to me, to anyone who reads it. It's no longer just about ancient Israel. The final unwritten chapter is about us. The call to return has been made. So, how will you respond?